Tudor Black Bay Pro. If you're watching this video, you already know all about it. And if you're not watching this video, there might be a glitch in the matrix. But you already know all about the Black Bay Pro because there have been countless articles, videos, posts, interpretive dances about it. And yet, several times a week, I get requests to make a video about this watch. So I asked myself, hey self, why are people asking me to make a video about the Black Bay Pro? And myself replied, you know we're the same person, right? So why don't you ask the internet why they want a video? And so I did. On both Instagram and YouTube, I asked people what they wanted to know about the BBP from my perspective. An innocuous request, right? And within a few hours, I had literally hundreds of replies proposing all sorts of topics and questions, and that's when I realized I've made a huge mistake. But people asked, and I wanted to help. I'm lucky that my buddy Tony loaned me this watch. Not everyone has a Tony in their life. So I dug in and started looking at all the questions, finding common themes, deduplicating, organizing, thinking, drawing lines between topics. And so this video is my attempt to address what I think are the most common or most important questions about this dumb watch. Let me start with the facts so we have a shared foundation. The Black Bay Pro was announced by Tudor in March 2022, and it was, and still is, big news. It's the second in-house GMT watch from Tudor, the first being the Black Bay GMT. On a bracelet, the Black Bay Pro costs $4,150. It's 39mm across, 47.5mm long, and 15mm thick. Yes, we're going to talk about it, just relax. It has 200 meters of water resistance and weighs about 165 grams on the bracelet. Inside the watch is the in-house caliber MT5652 movement. It's certified as a chronometer by COSC. That means it has an accuracy of -4 to +6 seconds per day or better, usually better. The movement has 70 hours of power reserve. And it's a GMT movement in the flyer style or traveler style. That means that the local hour hand jumps and sets the date while the yellow GMT hand and the minutes hand are linked together. This style of GMT is ideal for travelers, people moving through different time zones, but it's less ideal for people who are tracking a second time zone from home, and that's usually me. Okay, let's get into the questions. I couldn't possibly address every request, so your question might not be answered here, so sorry about that, and get used to disappointment. Question: there are now a lot of relatively affordable GMT watches on the market. How do those compare to the Black Bay Pro? Is the Tudor worth the money still? Answer: this is a great time to be a GMT buyer. Tudor has 2 in-house GMT watches. The more expensive brands still have theirs. And most importantly, there are good mechanical GMT watches starting at $400. This Seiko SSK005 is an example of that truly affordable GMT. This is mine and I love it. But the Seiko GMT really doesn't compete with my Rolex GMT Master or Explorer 2. Stylistically and emotionally, the Seiko is different for me. I wear these for different occasions. For example, I'll rake leaves or mow the lawn in the Seiko. The Rolex watches I travel with and I wear when I want to impress people, which never happens because no one ever looks at my watches. Now, there are watches a little higher in price like the Formex Reef GMT and the Manta SkyQuest, both around $1,500, both collar GMT watches, and both using reliable movements. With watches like these available, what about the $4,000 Black Bay Pro? And what about the new Longines $3,000 Spirit Zulu GMT? Now, I haven't been able to get a hold of that Longines Zulu. Longines, call me, but I think the principle is the same here. If all you're looking for is a reliable mechanical GMT watch, go with the Seiko or the Formex or the Manta. But nobody's needs are that simple, and if they are, I envy you so much. The truth is, yeah, sure you want reliable, but what the brand name means to you and what the price means to you, that's an emotional thing. I am nearly certain that you will find the Longines or the Manta equally functional to the Tudor, but which will make you feel better? Maybe having saved thousands of dollars will make you feel better, or maybe having the Tudor name on your wrist will make you feel better, because then you're better than all the pores. But seriously, these watches are worth it if they make you happy, and I believe they all can. Question: how big is your wrist? Answer: go f*** yourself. But for those new around here, my wrist is just over 7 inches, 7 1/8 inch, that's 18 centimeters. Question: how about that Black Bay Pro thickness? Answer: of course, this was the most frequently asked question. And to all of you who typed the word thick with 2 C's, you're very cute and I'm sure everyone thinks you're hilarious. 15 millimeters is the thickness of this watch. That is large. That dimension is the result of the 200 meters of water resistance and the movement thickness, which is 7.5 millimeters. For reference, the Rolex 3186 GMT movement is a millimeter smaller at 6.5 millimeters. This watch should be slimmer, like 2 millimeters slimmer. It really should. 13 millimeters would be fine, good even. I wish it was. But if wishes and buts were candies and nuts, then every day would be Dankfest. So is this 15 millimeter thickness a problem? Objectively, 100%, absolutely, without a doubt, certainly, categorically, unambiguously, meh. For me, this is not an issue at all. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised. It looks thick, and 15 millimeters is an intimidating number on paper, but it definitely has not been a noticeable issue for me. And I think that's for 2 reasons. One, I'm comfortable with large watches. I have some watches that are as thick or thicker and definitely wider. With this watch, I have no problem with comfort or getting this under a shirt cuff. And 2, I think it's fine for a pure sports watch like this. I have problems with some watches that seem to be dressier and are more than about 12 millimeters thick. It's an issue I have with the Omega Aquaterra. It's only 13.2 millimeters thick, but because it's dressy-er, it just doesn't seem right to me to have that thickness. Now, I'll repeat what I said. Thinner would be better. It almost always is, but even at 15 millimeters, absolutely no problem for me. Perhaps more important is this next question. Question: how is the weight? Does it feel too top-heavy on a strap? Answer: at 165 grams on the bracelet, this is a heavy watch. More than a Speedmaster on a bracelet, more than a Submariner, and I do notice it after a while. Watch weight is a hard thing to measure. No, it's actually an easy thing to measure, but it's hard to know how it'll feel on your wrist after hours of wearing it. Every wrist is different and everyone has their own preference. For me, I don't have a problem wearing this watch on a bracelet all day. Lighter would be better, it would, but I've never had to take this off and put it away because it was uncomfortable. But I have had to take it off for this related reason. The best part of this bracelet is the adjustment system. It's called the T-Fit clasp, and it's really good. It allows you to change the length of the bracelet in 2 millimeter increments, and unlike the glide lock system from Rolex, this system is spring-loaded. That means that you don't have to pop the setting into place, you just have to kind of let go, and it sets in the new length. And all this in a clasp that is still relatively slim. And while we're here, question: how does the bracelet feel? How about the rivets? Answer: the rivets are dumb. They're not offensive to me, I barely notice them, and I know they are unnecessary. They are purely aesthetic and are supposed to make the watch look vintage, and they don't. And don't do that, it's silly, stop being silly. As for the feel of the bracelet, it's really good. It's sturdy but not stiff. It's smooth and it's well engineered with really tight tolerances. Other than the rivets, my main complaint is that the end links are not attached. They're held on with the spring bars, which means you could drop them and lose them. It's not a huge deal, but this is how Tudor does most of its end links. I really like the bracelet taper. 20 millimeters at the case to 16 millimeters just before the clasp. This feels right and this looks right to me. But I've been experimenting with this on straps because... Question: how does this wear on straps? Too top heavy? Too thick on a NATO? Answer: the simple answer is good. It wears really well on straps, even straps that increase the overall thickness of the watch. And I think it looks great on a lot of options. My favorite has been wearing the Black Bay Pro on this tan Perlon strap. No, I don't know where the strap is from. Again, I do not know where the strap is from. This doesn't feel top heavy or uncomfortable to me. In fact, I find this more comfortable than the bracelet and at times even better looking. And just today I took this watch swimming using this strap and it felt great. Oh, sorry, Tony, I didn't ask if I could take this swimming. Don't worry, I made sure the crown was pulled all the way out before getting into the water. Question: how does this compare to the Rolex Explorer 2? Answer: the frequency of this question surprised me at first. Are people cross-shopping the Black Bay Pro with a watch that's more than twice its price? I guess so? I don't know. This is my Rolex Explorer 2 16570, and it's from the last generation before the Explorer went to 42 millimeters. Yeah, these watches are functionally the same, and both are from the Rolex family, and they also have fixed steel 24-hour bezels, but I wouldn't be considering these two at the same time. If you want an Explorer 2, do not get a Black Bay Pro. The Tudor is just not a replacement. And I mean that emotionally. Again, if you just want a nice GMT watch, you don't even need to pay $4,000. You can go much cheaper. But if you always wanted an Explorer 2, nothing is going to fill that hole in your heart except the Explorer 2. And love. Love will probably fill that hole, but the wait list on love these days, forget about it. You should buy the Tudor if you like the Tudor, and never because you like the Explorer. As for how they feel very different. The Rolex is much thinner and lighter. The older Rolex bracelet is kind of jangly and doesn't have a fancy adjustment system like the Tudor does, just adjustment holes in the clasp. And the Tudor has ceramic balls in the clasp. That's something that not even modern Rolex watches have. Tudor has the best little balls in the business. Overall, I prefer the Explorer 2, especially with this specific reference in the white dial. That should not surprise you. Now a white dial Black Bay Pro, that could be cool. I'm not sure how they do that with the Lume. Question: how do you feel about the Lume Plots and the Fotina? Answer: this is very light Fotina. The markers and hands are just slightly aged. It's just on the tan side of white, barely even creamy, and so I like it. I might prefer stark white, actually, I think I would, but the Lume Plots make up for it. These are pretty neat. These are big discs of ceramic luminescent material applied directly to the dial with no surrounds, and I'm into it. And they're pretty bright too. And I like how the GMT hand color matches the depth text on the dial. That's a nice touch and something that maybe my Explorer 2 should have. Which brings me to question: do you like how it looks? Answer: yes. The short answer is yes. And more than I did from photos and even videos, and even more now that I've been wearing it for a few days. I like the big domed sapphire crystal, I like the steel bezel, I like the markers. I actually think they're a nice size. Some newer watches have markers that maybe are too big. And I really like the lug bevels. This is something that Rolex used to do on all its sports watches, and I wish they would bring back. But again, I don't think you should be thinking about this or any Tudor as a Rolex replacement, or even a Rolex placeholder. I think Tudor watches should be evaluated against similarly priced and similarly capable watches, which leads me to question: how about the value of the Black Bay Pro? Answer: I had been wearing this for a few hours when I first looked up the price on the Tudor website, and I was shocked. $4,000. I was shocked by how low that seemed. How the hell are companies competing with Tudor at these prices? Then again, nobody should be spending $4,000 on a watch. What is wrong with you people? And by you people, I mean we people. But, I do think that this is a pretty good value considering the movement which Tudor has fixed, the bracelet, the clasp, the brand, the build quality. Yeah, $4,000. If you like this watch, go for it. Final question: will you buy the Black Bay Pro? Answer: hell no, it's too thick. I'm just kidding, but if I didn't have like 5 GMT watches, I would consider this, truly, I would. And I do really like the Black Bay GMT too, the Pepsi. It's larger, but if it had the T-Fit adjustment system like the Pro had, no, I don't need another GMT watch. Get out of my head, you monsters. I'm curious to see how Tudor takes this and if they iterate on the Black Bay Pro. I don't really know where they could go with it. Like I suggested, maybe a white dial or maybe a different colored GMT hand. That could be cool. But for now, I guess I get the hype. I like this watch more than I was expecting to, and I'm a little disappointed in myself that I'm just like everyone else now. I'm into new Tudor watches like the Pelagos LHC I bought last summer. Tudor has taken my heart and, more importantly, has taken my money.